welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at gods5minutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. Matthew and Luke each recorded their version of Jesus' reply when his disciples asked him to teach them how to pray. Matthew 6:13, which is taken from that reply, reads, "Lead us not into temptation." The preceding verse is "Forgive us our debts." That verse deals with the wrongs and missteps of the past, this with inducements into more wrongs and missteps to which this flesh is heir and which await us in the future. We need both. Forgiveness wipes away the stain between us and God of the past, but does not break the bonds of evil that have held us. Resisting temptation does. What forgiveness does do is increase our consciousness of our own weakness. In the new desire which comes from God giving us a new heart with its native longing to walk in holiness, we first fully meet the strength and frequency of inducements to sin. A person may know something about the force of temptation, really is just from the pull of conscience, but we fully understand temptation's strength when we try to resist it. Having our sinful debts forgiven will cause the masks to fall from the deceitful demons that loom around us with their tinsel dreams that turn out to be painted cardboard, and their lying promises that we can disobey God without retribution. As Daniel Warner wrote, "I wake with horror from the spell of Satan's dread control. Even forgiven sins have perils, for all sin leaves some tendency to recur, and we're only kept from that by the power and favor of God. The pathway of one avalanche made down the mountainside hollows out the route for another. It is part of sin's terrible penalty that even redeemed souls are left with bitter relics of their old life and must wage war against temptations he had never felt if he had not tasted the forbidden fruit. The sin that lay purring at our feet while we petted it starts to hiss, the claws come out and the fangs bite down when we seize it to hurl it from its cave. We can think of temptation as having two parts. One is the circumstances that present opportunity for wrongdoing before us, and the other is a desire that can flame up to cause us to reach out for the wrong. Concerning the second part, it's up to us to control our desires. We can never pray a prayer so strong it will make us incapable of feeling the straight pull to sample sin's fruit, else Eve had never tasted the apple. We can ask God to give us grace to help our weakness as the devil's siren song woos our souls. We can build dams against temptation's tide in our lives, just as David did when he prayed to remember the pit from which he had been dug. Those who stand on Niagara's brink have spoken of a sometimes overpowering urge to hurl oneself over the waterfall's precipice. If you know of that temptation, you can tie a rope around your waist. And if you know you are prone to that weakness, you can spend your vacation looking at the mountains instead. We can use our minds to serve the Lord. The beauty of resisting the lustful feelings of temptation is that if we do so, His Spirit comes to help us and we grow from the experience. The definition of the Greek word translated lead is to cause someone to enter into a particular event or state. That's what Christ instructed us to ask the Father not to do. The old devil would like us to bring temptation on ourselves by going back to the old mountainside where the avalanche once fell, dreaming in the old dreams, recreating the atmosphere until the yearning to do it all over again becomes too much and we fall in the same, temptation. If we don't want God to lead us there, we should certainly not go there voluntarily. But our human understanding is too nearsighted, so the Lord advised us to ask God to look down the journey before us and winnow our paths. It's good to come before Him every morning to tell Him that we want to live for Him this day, that our purpose by His grace when the sunset falls to be still able to get our prayers through, and that we'd like Him to help us with that purpose by going before Him to protect us from ourselves. Have you talked to Him today?
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.